This is a hearing. It is now called to order. I see the presence of a quorum with Councilman Heenan, Councilman Greenlee, Councilman Tollenberger, and Councilman Green, and myself. This is a City Council Committee on Public Safety. The purpose of this public hearing is to hear testimony on Bill number 170674. And will the clerk please read the title of the ordinance?
Bill number 170674, an ordinance amending section 10825 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Stun Guns by further providing for the regulation of stun guns, also known as electric or electronic incapacitation devices, under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. And before I begin, the record should reflect that this committee will not hear testimony on resolution number 170223 because it is being held at the request of the sponsor. And with that, I just want to kind of open this up and say that Bill number 17674 will prohibit the ownership and use and possession, sale, or transfer of stun guns by persons under the age of 18. So why is that important? Stun guns. I'll stop. State law has already recognized that firearms are dangerous devices, should not be possessed by unsupervised children. But the state stun gun statute does not address the use of stun guns by minors. Like guns, stun guns are dangerous weapons that can severely incapacitate individuals and can be in the wrong hands an instrument of crime. So what we want to do is take the position that we should protect our young folk. At the point that the state law doesn't go far enough, we do have the ability as a municipality to go a little further. And with that, I'm going to ask the clerk to read the first panel to testify, and hopefully the only panel to testify.
Sergeant Matthew White.
Welcome. Is this your first time testifying?
It is, sir. Thank you.
All right. Well, see, first time for everything. Do any of my committee members have a comment on this ordinance? Seeing none, state your name for the record and please begin your testimony.
My name is Sergeant Matthew White from the Philadelphia Police Department. Good afternoon, Chairman, other members of the committee. I'm an advisor to Commissioner Ross. I work for Captain Fran Healy, who I'm sure many of you have met before. First, on behalf of the Commissioner, I'd like to thank you for giving the Police Department the opportunity to voice its opinion regarding Bill 170674 relating to stun guns. Stun guns that expel projectiles, otherwise known as electronic incapacitation devices, are not toys or novelties. In fact, they're dangerous weapons that can cause serious injury or even death. For this reason, the Philadelphia Police Department fully supports the amendments being proposed to City Code Section 10-825. Under no circumstance should children be permitted to use or possess these devices. While Pennsylvania Crimes Code Section 908.1 clearly addresses the use and possession of electronic incapacitation devices, the statute does not address the use or possession of this equipment by minors. Firearms are dangerous devices, and the state legislature recognized this fact by enacting Crimes Code Section 6110.1 to restrict the possession of firearms from unsupervised children. Despite the inherent danger of the electronic incapacitation devices, there is regrettably no corresponding safeguard provided in the state code. This bill provides those safeguards to the children in Philadelphia. With the advanced technology and prevalence of these devices in our city, the Police Commissioner truly appreciates the efforts of Councilman Jones to protect our children. This concludes my testimony. I'd be happy to answer any questions this time.
A couple of questions. So the electronic device known as stun guns, they range in different kinds of capacities and intensities. I've seen the ones that are handheld that look like a shaver, a razor, electronic razor. And then there are those that are shot from projectiles. and put two wires in it, basically. And so can you give us a little, so this would cover all of those devices, is that correct?
I'm not certain if this would cover all those devices. I would be happy to certainly research that and get back to you with a conclusive answer. I wouldn't want to speak freely. I know that the language does involve projectiles, but also references electronic incapacitation devices, which are described in the state statute as being more encompassing.
So for the intent of this law, we want it to cover all of those devices. We are not, or do not project ourselves as experts on which ones incapacitate a little bit, which ones incapacitate a lot. So we want to put a prohibition on all of them. Second question I would have we noted any commissions of crimes with stun guns? Is that something we know about?
In general terms, I believe crimes have been committed using these devices. However, I don't have any data or statistics I could present to you today, but I would also be happy to do additional research on that as
So
well.
because you went to law school with all of our staff here, I'm gonna stop my questions at this point. But next time, you won't be new. Councilman Tollenberger?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Most stun guns, then, are ones that you actually have to hold up against another person. I mean, other than the ones, there are some that shoot a projectile that's sort of like, I guess, like a harpoon.
So there are two different types of devices that I am aware of, at least one that is contact-based and one that is projectile-based as far as the prongs. As far as which one has sold more units or which one is more prevalent, I wouldn't be able to speak to that without some research.
And please don't interpret these questions. I should really make it very clear for the record. I'm in support of this legislation. I applaud the chairman for coming up with it. But while you're here, just for sake of gaining some knowledge, how often are they used with Philadelphia police? Do they use them quite a bit or not at all?
Are you asking how often police officers use their electronic?
Yeah, does each police officer have a stun gun?
There are a number of officers that.
So the answer is no. May I help you out? Because I was up at the academy. The answer is no. There is specific training that each officer must have
Before they get one.
before they get one.
Yes.
And to your knowledge, has anyone ever been hurt severely or died because of a stun gun anywhere in the city of Philadelphia?
I can
To your
certainly.
knowledge.
I have no knowledge of anyone ever dying. No. The device, I understand it to cause pain. So if the question is, has it hurt people? Then yes, it's hurt people.
So I think it was you, Councilman Heenan, didn't we go up together? Did we go to the police academy together? So there was a tradition that in order to get a stun gun, you had to subject yourself to getting stunned. And the union stepped in and said that practice would no longer be tolerated. But there was a time you had to, in order to administer it, you had to know what it felt like. And I would have never had a stun gun ever. It's almost like being hazed. So no, it was for anyone who wanted to actually carry one. New guys too, but.
And when did this practice end?
Well, we were up there, I gotta believe, 3 years ago, and don't hold me to that, but shortly, they stopped doing it. And I think rightfully so, because it's nothing to play with. It is painful. One hell of an initiation. If we had something like that in council, there probably would be no council. So, new Republican at-large members only. So we'll stop with that. Does anybody ever?
Mr. Chairman, I'm done with my questions. I thank you, and I'm fully in support of your bill.
Thank you. So, are there any other witnesses to testify on this legislation?
No.
Okay. Oh, Councilman Green.
A quick question. Technology is always evolving and changing, and listening to the testimony of my colleagues, are there new types of stun guns that are coming out that this legislation may not cover? Or is that too challenging to speculate? that you may not see in use now, but that people are using in other jurisdictions or using other, maybe they're being used for law enforcement or military that are not available commercially, but could be in the future?
No, I think that's a great question. Thank you. And I am not aware of anything at this time, but I am happy to look into that. I would certainly like to know if there's something in the pipeline that would be a device that would not be covered. So
Because the reason I asked the question, because from a military perspective, they are always there are new types of devices that are coming out that may not be available commercially, but may be available commercially in the future that are currently being used by the military in various points of war, other type of military operations. So I was just curious. Thank you.
all right, thank you.
So are there any other questions for this witness? Councilman Heenan? Okay,
I'm just going to make a comment
Go
on
ahead.
the bill that's being held.
Councilman Heenan, please. You've been-
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no questions for you, unless any other members do. I mean, it'll be up to the chair whether to excuse you and all. I wanted to make a brief statement on the bill that's being held.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first, I want to remind everybody, if they don't know already, and help me wish our colleague and friend Councilman Squilla a happy birthday today. It's his birthday. I don't see him here, but if he's looking, happy birthday to Councilman Squilla. But on the resolution that's being held at the request of the sponsor, Councilwoman Bass, it's Resolution 170223 regarding crossing guards. And I want to thank her and the colleagues that had signed on to bringing it to the attention, because it's a very dire situation we are in staffing the occurring, that it's occurring across the city and throughout my district as well. And I know that the councilwoman and other members share that same desire to ensure that all of our children are able to get to school to and from safely. That's why crossing guards are so important. And, I just happened to be with the crossing. As a matter of fact, I was speaking with you, Councilman, earlier in the morning. I think it was like 7 o'clock in the morning. So who says that city government closes? All right, because it is always open on our end, because we're 24/7 employees, thanks to the people. We were discussing some other issues, but at 7 o'clock in the morning, I was on the corner with a crossing guard. All right, she's been there for 30 years. And it happened to be one of those corners where she was there for 30 years. A woman who was crossing the street, her mother had the corner before this young lady, right, who was there for 30 years. So between this woman's mother and her, there was 70 years of crossing guard experiences. Wow. And they were crossing people who I remember crossing. All right, so she was saying, this woman that's coming up, I crossed her. All right, I crossed her brothers and sisters, and now look at him crossing her kids. All right, so that's the fabric of the city of Philadelphia when a crossing guard understands the community, and we pay attention to who's helping protect and serve our community in addition to our law enforcement. It is our crossing guards, and when it's vacant, all right, we miss so much more than just a corner with safety. All right? And it was a tough job. I almost crossed a staffer right in when traffic was coming along pretty good. So I put in a request to the police department regarding the status of the streets that have crossing guards and the intersections that are not as fortunate. And I'm looking forward, like my colleagues, and updating on how these vacancies came about, what are they doing to fulfill them, and what are, as far as developing a plan to fulfill them in the timeline. So I understand that the resolution is being held to the call of the chair, and I expect that the information that has been requested from the department will be in front of us in advance to having the hearing at the call of the chair. But I just do want to say that, crossing guards really do provide much more than safety. All right, they provide information, they provide the connectivity, they provide relationships, they provide mentorship, and they provide the comfort I think our city deserves. So I want to thank them for what they do. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman, and we appreciate you standing up for the young people that have to go through those dangerous intersections and crossing guards who protect them. So, Chair also,
Chairman, if I could.
Councilman Tullenberg.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to echo and actually thank Councilman Heenan for what he just said. I couldn't agree with him more. I think he said it very eloquently. And I look forward to these hearings because I think they're very, 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 very important on this particular subject. But I want to raise something while I have the attention of this committee here, and that is that the police department, who is in charge of this at this moment, of the hiring of crossing guards, really should have the act together in the sense that when school opens in September, all these new hires and people should be in place, as opposed to some corners I've been told that is in my neighborhood, they're going to be there maybe in November, maybe December. That's a long time. And I truly believe what Councilman Heenan just said, once again, very eloquently, it gives a safety, a comfort to both parents and students. And I think it's important that they be in place day one when school opens. They certainly have that summertime to do that, to do the hiring, and they certainly have the knowledge of what the budget has for the hiring in late June already. So this thing should go very, very timely, almost like a train leaving the station.
Well said.
Thank you.
Well said.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing no other comments, this concludes the public hearing. We will now go into our public meeting to consider the action to be taken on bill number 170674. And I will also note for the record, Councilman Johnson has joined us. Public meeting on motion, I'm looking for a motion on bill number 170674. Chair recognizes Councilman Greenland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that bill number 170674 be reported as committee with favorable recommendation that the rules of council be suspended to allow first reading at our next session of council. Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 170674 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at our next session of council. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. All those opposed, the bill carries. This concludes the committee's setting. Right. Yeah. Councilwoman Blackwell will be recorded as saying aye to the bill, and her presence duly noted. This concludes our hearing. Thank you.